Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. It's been a while since I last posted a video, but since then I actually got my first apartment. It's exciting but also scary because now I have the responsibility to pay for rent and insurance, car bills, even laundry I have to pay for now. But the pros of that are obviously I have my own space. I'm also really close to my mom now. I'm only 15 minutes away from her, so I can go over for any home cooked meals, and she absolutely loves the company, so I'm happy. So, getting to this piece, I went ahead and actually started this like a month before I moved, and then I was able to finish it after I moved here, and that was like maybe like a 3-month process. So I took a huge break on this piece, and I feel like my skills just weren't as good by the time I got back to it, unfortunately, because I wasn't practicing. I didn't have any of my art supplies because they were all like getting moved or in storage. So I definitely wish I finished this before I moved, but I didn't. So I'm definitely glad I was able to finish it after about 5 months in progress. I was finally able to sit down in my new apartment and finish it. So the picture that I used as a reference was actually found off of Instagram. The person in the picture, her name is Eden Fines. I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description if you guys would like to use her as a reference as well. So to start off the piece, I went ahead and added the shadows with a orangey brown color from the HIMI Gouache set, and I just went ahead and just placed them all over the places that I thought were gonna be darker, like around her nose, chin, the shadow from her hair onto her face and body, as well as the nose and just around those areas. I then went ahead and went in with a lighter brown orangey color, and I just tried blending it with the darker tones. So I was pretty much just adding like a skin tone, or at least a base of what I could start off with, and then from there on I could add more color, add more shadows, highlights to what I wanted. So as you can see, now I am mostly just going in with a lighter color. I think I'm actually just going in with white and having it blend by itself. I have a little bit of water on the tip of my brush, and then I'm just going in trying to blend it. Blending with gouache is honestly very, very difficult. It does usually blend with the paint that's underneath it, but if you have a color that you don't like and you're trying to just get rid of it, it's kind of hard, especially when you have too much water to paint ratio. But yeah, just keep that in mind when you're going in and adding a layer on top of what you have. So now I'm just going in and trying to establish a base color that I'm happy with. Obviously we already have one there, but I'm just trying to mix in a little bit of white, trying to see if I want to lighten it or darken it, and see if I like the skin tone that I'm working with right now. So now I'm just going in with a base color like the skin color, and then adding in a lighter red to the mix of the skin color, just to see if I wanted to add some blush to it. I didn't know if I wanted them to be circular like blush marks on her cheeks or if I wanted to blend it out, but this just gives me an idea of my options pretty much. So if I like the little circles, then I would keep it, and if I didn't, I could obviously just blend it out later. So now I'm mostly just going back in and refining everything that I've already placed down. If you guys didn't know, gouache is very flexible with what you've already placed down, but it could be a good thing or a bad thing. Just because whatever you already placed down, it's gonna be reactivating the pigment that's already there. So if you want to blend something out, that's great, but if you want to cover something up that's there that you didn't like before, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. You have to add more paint to your brush and pretty much not use any water just to get rid of it. But yeah, so that's pretty much what I was doing. And now I think I was just like going back because I was like, I forget to do the forehead for a long time, for most of the time, which is kind of unfortunate just because it, like, the paint that I've already placed down is already so mixed in with the gouache and like already has layers of gouache already on it. But since I wasn't working on the forehead, obviously it doesn't have any of those layers. So it's going to be kind of difficult for me to correct the color to what I've already placed. But yeah, this is pretty much me just refining it and seeing if I like it, adding highlight, adding shadows to it, and so on and so forth. Something that I've definitely learned from this whole painting was obviously you need to try to fill out everything. A lot of people usually do color blocking, so they place a lot of color down as much as they can before they even start refining everything, which I definitely will be doing from now on because this was such a pain trying to correct the colors that I wanted and color match everything. So yeah, that was a pain in the butt. And then on top of that, I was really struggling with the blush. As you could see, I just kept on messing up over and over and over. And then since I added that with the refined skin tone that I liked, it was just messing everything up. So I literally needed to just keep on blocking on more and more gouache, which made the paper a little bit textured, but yeah, it was just really unfortunate that I was doing all this. So that's definitely a tip that I will give you guys, just because I didn't know, and it's really important to start color blocking everything before you go in and add a ton of details. So now I'm mostly just going back onto the neck. Thankfully, I've already mixed a lot of the skin tone color that I liked, and so now I'm just pretty much placing that over her neck and her shoulder area. It's always so important, like I cannot stress this enough, to already have colors mixed before you start placing colors down, so that once you've already figured out your color scheme and everything, you could just simply go in and place everything exactly where you pretty much want it to be and then refine it from there. But if you're super indecisive like me and like experimenting, then feel free to just place things down and see how it turns out. But it usually turns out like a mess, unless you want to spend a ridiculous amount of time refining everything. So I recommend probably going in and pre-mixing your colors before you place anything down. Something else that I usually see a lot of other artists doing is having a scrap paper of the same paper that you're using on the side and testing the colors on that paper before you place it down to see how it actually is on paper, because sometimes in the pan you won't see it that color. So that's also a really great suggestion that I think that works really well with other people. But for me, I just like, it's gouache, it's okay, it'll mix in anyways. So moving on to the lips, this is honestly one of my favorite parts. I think I also said the nose was, but this is also one of my favorites. I always like showing depth on the lips by making the top one a little bit darker than the bottom one. Maybe it's because I watched so much Kim possible when I was a kid or something, but I always think that adding a little bit of depth to the upper lip adds a little flair, something unique, interesting. But yeah, so now I'm just going in and adding some highlight to the lips, making them a little bit shinier so it looks like she has gloss on. Now I'm just trying to refine it, but whenever you refine something a little too much, you're bound to mess up. So that's pretty much what I did. I added a little bit too much black to the color that I was using, so then it looked off-putting to the rest of the face because I didn't have any shadows that were that dark yet. So it just looked weird. So I kept on trying to refine it, but I ended up just scrapping the lips, as you'll see in a moment. But yeah, I just got so frustrated with them just because I liked them, but then I looked far away at the picture and it's just like I wasn't getting it. It didn't look the way that I wanted them to, you know. So now I'm just adding eyelashes with my very, very, very thin brush, just so that I can really give them like that really realistic wispy effect of the eyelashes. If you guys didn't know, I'm like an eyelash fanatic. For some reason, I always like making them extremely long. I think it just adds so much to a face, like just from personal experience. My whole entire life, I didn't have eyelashes that were that long, and then once I put them on, it was just like, it really changes a face, in my opinion. So yeah, as you could see, now I'm trying to fix what I first had on the lips. I'm trying to make them like a more muted color, and then I'm just like, well, maybe I should just change the whole color because I think I should just maybe start over just because I'm really frustrated with these and I don't like how they look. Like, I like the basic outline of what they look like, but the color and everything was just not mixing well. Obviously her skin tone is very simple and muted, so I wanted to make her lips a bit more muted and less red. I like everything to look a bit more natural rather than like she had lipstick on or something, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just trying to cover it up. A lot of these shots are just me waiting for the paint to dry so I could add something else on top of it, because again, like gouache, you have to wait for the paint to dry before you could add anything else on top, or else it's gonna mix a lot. So that's pretty much what I was doing. I just kept on trying to refine them a bit more and more and trying to just blend out the color, because then at that point I was mixing in with the skin tone that I've already picked out, and it was just like a bad combination. Again, this is why you guys color block, so you guys don't have these mistakes, okay? This is why. Thankfully, gouache is a bit more forgiving than other mediums, just because you can still layer things on top of it. Again, it might like mess with the things underneath, but it is a bit more forgiving than others. Same with oils. You guys could blend your little hearts away if you can. But yeah, so now I'm mostly just going in and making the lips exactly how I want them to. I made them a little bit smaller, but they're still pretty full. And I added more of a natural color so that I used the same color as I did for her cheeks for her lips, just so that it would look like more muted, just because that isn't like the centerpiece of the whole thing. I really like her nose and her eyes to be like the centerpiece of the whole thing, not her lips. So I'm very glad with my color choice for her lips, just because it just seemed a bit more simple and muted. So now I am just adding a little bit of highlight to her lips as you naturally would. No eyebrows. Amazing. Magic. I actually have no idea what happened to the footage of me painting the eyebrows. I honestly don't even know at this point where I was filming, to be honest with you. I don't know if it was in the old place or my new place, so who knows? Who knows? We lost that footage forever, but it's okay because now we have beautiful, lush eyebrows that I honestly really liked. Really liked them. Now I'm just adding a little bit of detail to her eyes, making them so that they wouldn't just be completely white. I always like adding like a little bit of blue to her pupils and to her whites of the eye. I don't really know what the white of your eye is called, so that. I'm also going in and just doing little details here and there. For some reason, I'm just an artist that doesn't focus on one thing. I usually like doing a lot of things at one time, especially if I have like a thin brush. Why not just do something else that needs the little thin brush instead of, switching brushes. So this is what I mean by color blocking. I'm adding like a thin layer of color to the hair, just so that later on I can go in and add more details if I want to. But right now this is just to get a basic outline of what I want to do and what it will be looking like with those specific colors that I've already picked out. So again, I'm gonna say this throughout the whole video: color blocking is your best friend. So first, I'm just going in with a really light wash of a brown that I made for the hair. And from there, I just lay down a base of what I want to work with. And then from there, I add detail. So I didn't really know what I was planning on doing with the braids. I knew I wanted to layer paint on top of it and give it like some dimension and make it seem like more realistic, I guess, by just adding more layers on top of the original light wash. But after looking at it, I was like, maybe I should do some braids and some that are just like a light wash, just to give it something like different. Again, I'm not like a professional or anything, so this is all like experimental for me. So I really enjoyed just doing like half braids, half light wash, so I thought that came out pretty good. So moving on to the eyes, I always really struggle with adding something different to eyes. I went over them a million times and I still didn't like them, but here's how they turned out, and this is how the end result looks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more stuff like this, please feel free to subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye.